Hey folks, you're very welcome to the Joy of Aquascaping. My name's Greg, and in this video I want to talk about my top 5 pros and cons to keeping goldfish.
My name's Greg, and you're very welcome to the Joy of Aquascaping, where we look at all things fish related. I've worked with fish for over 20 years now, both as a hobbyist and as a professional, and I want to share all of the things that I've learned with you to help make your fish keeping experience even better. Stay tuned for tank builds, species-specific information, and all things fish keeping related. Thanks for watching the Joy of Aquascaping. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
So my first pro for these guys is that they are super interactive. Things are pretty cold here now, but if you have these guys in an aquarium where it's a bit warmer, room temperature, perfect. These guys are super interactive. They will rush up to you, the edge of your tank, looking for food. You can teach them tricks. These guys are much smarter than a lot of people believe them to be. Goldfish have even been taught to drive cars. I kid you not. These things can get their license real quick. Now, they are an awesome pet if you give them the time. In order to get that, you do need to put some time into it. You can teach them tricks, like I said, and just have a really interactive relationship with them. And for me, that reason is one of the top reasons to keep a goldfish over other fish, which might be either skittish and afraid to go anywhere near you, or just simply not care that you're there. Goldfish, not like that. They're super interactive pets. Now, one of my other favorite things about them is just how many there are, the sheer number of varieties of goldfish. There are over 300 recognized internationally, and that list has grown all the time because it's very easy to breed the selective traits of one goldfish and another goldfish and make your own. It's absolutely awesome. And there are tons of different varieties that look really different. You've got ones with giant eyes like telescope mirrors, you've got big roundy bodies like pearl scales, you've got some crazy oddballs as well, some specialist goldfish. You got your commons, your standards, your comets, single-tailed, strong goldfish, really like the original ancestors. And then you've got some of my favorites like Aranda goldfish that are super personable, Ryukin and Ranchus and Line Chews, and the list goes on. There are so many different varieties of goldfish, so you can choose the one that really suits your aesthetic, the one that you think is the cutest and brings you the most joy, but deep down you're still getting a goldfish, and goldfish are awesome. So yeah, reason number 2 on the list to keep goldfish, the number of varieties, it is awesome. Now, reason number 3 why I think goldfish are an absolutely awesome fish to keep is because they grow absolutely huge. Goldfish, no matter how big you think, they get bigger. They get absolutely massive. Goldfish will easily grow a foot long if given the right opportunities. They are a big fish. They're a river fish originally. These guys like lakes and ponds and rivers, and they grow big. And we've selectively bred them to be a little bit smaller, but ultimately, most of them are gonna have the capability to grow absolutely massive. And it's great to see a fish that's interactive and, you know, one that you really like grow really, really big over the course of years. And it's an awesome thing to see. The sheer size of them. They're definitely one of the bigger fish that beginner aquarists actually start keeping. Most people don't even realize just how big goldfish can get. Now, my number 4 reason why goldfish are an awesome pet to keep is because they can live such a long time. Goldfish can live over 40 years, 4 decades. I kid you not, these guys can live a long, long time. And most people's experience with them is that they don't last very long. And unfortunately, you choose the wrong goldfish, or you know, you don't give it the right conditions, it won't last very long, just like any animal won't. But if looked after correctly, you can expect your pet store goldfish to live for at least 15, 20 years. And if you really look after those guys, and with a bit of luck sometimes, those guys are gonna live even longer. A lot of pets that we can keep, they just don't live that long, unfortunately. But goldfish could be a little buddy for life because they can live a long, long time. Now, the number 5 reason why I think goldfish are an awesome pet to keep is because they are so easy to breed. Goldfish kind of do all the work themselves. If you want to breed your fish, they will do so easily. It is easy to breed goldfish. A lot of things you need to watch out for when you're breeding goldfish, but they are super easy to breed. So you can have a pet that lives a long time and you can grow and develop in the hobby with, and then you gets more interactive, maybe gets to a nice size, and it's a variety that you absolutely love, and you think, I would like more of these. I would like to breed for specific traits of this fish that I think are awesome. Maybe you've got some other goldfish in the meantime, and you think, well, you know what, I'd like maybe some of their offspring. and they are easy to breed. That's why we see so many goldfish in so many places. It's why pet stores are often full of them. They breed very easily, and when they breed thousands of eggs as well, particularly larger females. So yeah, I think it is a really nice way of being able to grow and develop in the hobby, have your own fish. I've bred fish very particular for my environment. My in-ground pond over there, those fish are single-tailed common goldfish crossed with orandas, so they've got a slightly bigger body, but they're hardy. I wanted something a little bit fancy, but also something that could survive cold winters, so I bred some fish specifically with those traits, and I got the fish that I needed for my environment. And you can do that too. You can go for the particular traits that you like in fish once you kind of are in the position to, and that's something that will happen naturally with goldfish as long as they've been well looked after and catered for. Those guys are going to be super easy to breed. Look, there are some cons to keeping goldfish, and I think it's only fair that we talk about them because they might not be for you, because goldfish can be tricky. I don't even usually recommend them as a beginner's first fish. They're kind of tough. The first con with keeping goldfish is just how messy they are. My goodness, these guys can make a serious mess. Goldfish poop more than most. Goldfish have a very inefficient digestive system, which means most of what they eat comes out the back end as poop. And that poop is toxic for goldfish. It's a recipe for disaster. And that's why a lot of goldfish don't achieve those long lives that they should have. It's because of the fact that if they're kept in the wrong environment and you don't provide adequate filtration, wow, their own waste, their own mess becomes a toxic soup, and it'll unalive them pretty quickly. So you need to be super mindful of the fact that goldfish are exceptionally messy. Now, an awful lot of beginners, when they get goldfish, they might overfeed just a little bit, and that can cause massive trouble. That could be why goldfish don't achieve those long lifespans, because all that extra food just comes out as long stringy poops, and unfortunately that just causes trouble. So goldfish being messy is something that you should really think about, particularly if you're going to want a nice planted tank or anything like that. Poops everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Now, remember when we were talking about how goldfish get huge? That's the next con on the list, because unfortunately huge fish need huge aquariums, and most people get goldfish as a beginner fish. They don't realize just how big the aquarium that they really need is going to be. These guys will very easily get over a foot long, and that little goldfish bowl, which is a myth, it's a lie, it doesn't even exist. Trust me, your goldfish don't believe in them. Not even a bit, because they are not big enough for even the smallest goldfish to live very long in. Goldfish need a huge aquarium, and as they grow and they get bigger, you can get bigger and bigger aquariums, yeah, but ultimately they're going to get so bored in a small aquarium very, very quickly, because again, remember, they're an interactive fish. They like to interact with their environment as well as people. They have a small setup. They're not going to last very long, unfortunately. So you're going to need to factor that in. They need a big aquarium. That takes up a lot of space, and that might not be something you've got, but bear that in mind, because it is a con. Unfortunately, they don't stay small for very long. You need a big, huge aquarium. So the next con with goldfish is that quite often they're poorly bred. Like I was saying, it's easy to breed goldfish. Unfortunately, thousands of eggs that the goldfish release are not all going to be absolutely perfect, and you'll have goldfish that are either poorly bred or looked after improperly by the breeders, maybe not fed enough when they really need all that protein as babies. Basically, your goldfish that you get might not be a really good goldfish to start off. And there's a couple of things you can look out for. Things like deformities. It's very nice and it feels rewarding to rescue a fish, but particularly as a beginner, if you get a fish that has something wrong with it, well, it's going to be an uphill struggle for you. That can be tough, and it can actually put you off the hobby when you're constantly fighting issues and you've got sick fish. And if you're really into it and you put the effort in, you can learn a lot from that kind of scenario. But unfortunately, the act of buying them also helps perpetuate that industry, and it's tricky. It's a bit of a minefield. But if you get a fish that's being bred really poorly and it's not being looked after properly before it gets to you, quite often you'll do your best for that fish and you'll spend time and money, and there's nothing that can be done for it. And it happens all the time with goldfish. So make sure, if you're going to get your goldfish, you're getting them from a reputable breeder, and just keep an eye out for certain things like deformities, mouth deformities. I never see goldfish, unfortunately, with mouth deformities that live for very, very long times. Usually they're going to struggle in the long run. If you get something like an oranda with a very small tail and a giant big head might flip over. If you get fish that are missing fins and stuff like that, that they might just have other deformities that are hidden beneath the surface. So keep an eye out for pearly bred goldfish. You'll see it quite often in aquariums, unfortunately, in pet stores, fish that just they haven't been given the best start in life. The con number 4 we kind of touched on already through a number of points, because goldfish are messy, goldfish eat loads, goldfish require big aquariums, filtration. Basically, you're gonna have to do a lot of maintenance. Goldfish are not a fish that you can just throw into a tank and leave them be. They're gonna need you to put some effort in throughout the week, every week, in order to keep them healthy. And that's because if we don't, the water will just get more polluted and more polluted until it's at the point where they've made it so toxic they can't live in it. And the worst thing is, even long before that, it's gonna get to the point where it's actually bothering them. It's burning their gills and their eyes, and not good at all. So you're gonna have to do a lot of maintenance, and something you're gonna have to factor into your schedule. And if you don't have a lot of time in your day or in your week, something that can interfere with that, particularly early on, you're gonna have to do a lot of maintenance. And then once you get things really well balanced and everything established and good bacteria colony or filtration right, your aquarium's the right size, you're not feeding too much, you might only need to do one water change a week, large volume water change, and that might be it. And that might only take you maybe half an hour, and that's it. That's all you need to do to keep these amazing pets. Particularly when you're starting out, it can be a little bit trickier. You haven't got the balance set up just right. You're getting used to everything. And on top of everything else, a goldfish aquarium that's not cleaned properly can be really smelly, and that can get you in trouble in your hobby very quickly. So you're gonna need to do your maintenance, and that's something that you should really bear in mind. Absolutely, if you're gonna keep these guys in an aquarium. Unfortunately, that brings us to the last con about keeping goldfish. That is, no matter how many goldfish that you have, you're gonna want more, because these guys are awesome. And it's just something that happens to goldfish keepers. You get a goldfish, you get 2 goldfish, you get more goldfish, multiple tank syndrome. It's a real thing. You get 1 tank and you will want more. And it's just something that if you get into goldfish, you'll experience yourself, no doubt, because they are an amazing pet. They're super interactive. They live a long time. There's so many varieties. It's like, you're gonna wanna catch them all kind of thing. And that's the thing about goldfish. They are something that once you get into and you put the effort into, because that's really important. If you don't put the effort in, it won't be a good experience. And that's why it can be tough for beginners who don't realize there's a bit of work to do with these guys. But if you do put the effort in, these guys are a super rewarding pet. Now in the next couple of videos, I'm going to go into species specific profiles where I talk about the different types of goldfish, because like I said, there's so many different varieties, and that's one of the big hurdles when you're starting off keeping goldfish, is choosing the right one or the different types that you want to put together. Because if you mix the wrong ones, they don't always go together. They're very different. Even though they are still the same fish underneath, their capabilities are different. Some of them can swim fast, some can't. Some are kind of voracious at feeding time, some are timid. There's all different types of goldfish. So we'll get into the specifics of each one in the next videos. And if you want to check those out, hit the subscribe button. I'll talk to you then. Take care. Bye-bye.